you're looking for the answers, I still don't have them. What I do have is a particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people who mislead, misinform, or misrepresent the sports card industry. So if you don't do that, I'll let it go. But if you do, I want to talk about you. Welcome, guys, to another episode of the Sports Card Investigator Show. My name is Andy. I am your humble host, and today I want to talk about an important topic that has come up over the last few weeks. I've seen countless videos on why it's a problem. Lots of complaining about this subject, but not much in terms of solutions. So what am I talking about? Breaking. And as far as solutions, as I said, not much, unless you want to consider calling out the bad actors a solution. I recently read a statement from Whatnot, whose platform has been the victim of some of this nefarious behavior. What a joke. No other legitimate industry expects itself to be policed by its clientele. It's laughable. In this statement that they put out, they acknowledge there's a problem, but how do they address it? They're going to put out this pilot program, this community watchdog. We need more community watchdogs. And as part of this program, if you engage in this program, you're going to get badges and merch and even some type of payment. Brilliant. Problem solved. Tell you what, this is just another lazy attempt to cut down on bad behavior in the hobby. And why? Because like a lot of approaches, bad approaches, it's reactive. You got to be proactive to stop this type of stuff. And that's the problem. The statement acknowledges that incidents have occurred and claims that they have to take it seriously, but what it doesn't do is provide any specific details about what actions were taken and how they plan to prevent similar incidents from happening in the future. Everybody watch, and if you see something, say something. This statement deflects blame onto a small fraction of breakers, implying that this issue is isolated and it's not a big problem. What a big deal. This approach is so predictable, and it is lazy because it fails to acknowledge the underlying issues that may have contributed to this bad behavior. It does not offer any real solutions. The Whatnot program is like most hobby watchdogs, offering superficial solutions as it relies on community members to act as watchdogs or overseers or moderators without any clear guidance or training or how to do it effectively. Overall, this statement lacks substance. It does not inspire confidence. It does not inspire confidence that this company is truly committed to addressing the underlying issue that contribute to its bad behavior being committed on its platform. I always begin my videos with a little preamble. I like it. It's fun. And I say I don't have all the answers, and in most cases, that is the case. But every once in a while, there's a subject or a topic that I can apply my years of experience and, dare I say, expertise. And this is one of those times. You know what would inspire some confidence in our hobby and our community about bad breakers? How about anybody caught committing this crime? And let's not mince words. It is a crime. They'll be banned for life, and that platform will prosecute to the fullest extent of the law. The platform will have their own security team. Do these platforms even have security teams per se? But if they did, they should reach out to the victims and work with the local authorities to get the case prosecuted. If the breaker intentionally conceals a card during the break with the purpose of stealing it for themselves and does not distribute it to the rightful owner, that, my friends, is considered theft by deception. The key element here is the intent to deceive and steal the card, regardless of the method used to do so. Under criminal law, theft by deception requires the following elements. Here we go. The perpetrator uses deceit, trickery, or false representation to obtain the property of another person. Check. Intent to deprive. The perpetrator intends to deprive the victim of the property permanently or for an extended period of time. Check. Property ownership. The property taken belongs to someone else. Check. Criminal intent. The perpetrator acts with the knowledge that these actions are illegal. Check. Oh, Andy, that's going to be so hard to prove. Is it really hard to prove when you have video evidence and a large number of witnesses that have literally just seen what happened and there's video evidence of it? In my old world, I would call that a slam dunk. Now, getting it prosecuted in this day and age, I understand it's a different story, but the rightful owner of the card, the victim, should definitely press charges. Let the police or DA decline it. And the platform in which the crime was conducted should cooperate fully, and if not, they should deem it complicit. They should be deemed complicit. Good luck, I know. And I get it. Platforms that facilitate transaction between buyers and sellers are not typically held liable for the actions of those sellers. However, platforms may be held liable if they knowingly facilitate illegal activities, and this is important, if they fail to take reasonable steps to prevent illegal activities from occurring on their platform. So if a breaker steals a card on the platform may not be directly responsible for the crime. However, if the platform failed to take responsible steps to prevent it, they could be potentially held liable for their complicity in the crime. This could result in legal action against a platform, potentially to financial penalties or other consequences. Will this ever happen? Who knows? But there's a myriad of issues that come into play here. I get it. Jurisdiction, cost of the card. Like I said before, someone even willing to prosecute it, so forth and so on. But if it was me, if I was the victim, I would not hesitate to file a police report and try my best to get those charges filed. So with all that said, I know, maybe I'm in a dream world here. But with all that said, what steps on top of that could be taken by these platforms to fix the problem? Now, I'll admit it, I do not participate in breaks. They just aren't for me. But a lot of people in the hobby, they're very important to them. And I understand that, and I respect it. And I respect the other people's rights to participate in breaks. Free will, as I always say. So with that, as I said before, this is one of those chances, one of those circumstances where I can bring my experience and expertise and explain how going forward breaking should be conducted, and more importantly, what could be done specifically to protect the integrity of breaking in our hobby. Now, some of you will not like what I'm about to say, because a lot has to be done to ensure that this will happen. But as they say, that's the break. See what I did there? That was terrible. Okay, you want to be a breaker? You want to be a professional breaker? You want to operate a breaking organization? First and foremost, you must go through licensing and certification. Never have I seen a process in which someone can handle and distribute items that have the value or perceived value that some of these sports cards have, with no training, no policy, no procedures, and we don't know what experience. All you need is a phone, a table, and a way to collect funds, and away you go. That is ridiculous. Breakers should be modeled after how a casino handles their dealers. It's really no different at its core. Think about it. You pay your money and you hope the cards you are dealt are good ones. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose. Breakers will be subject to background investigations. The background checks will include criminal and civil checks as well as a credit check. Credit check? That's a little intrusive. You want someone up to their eyeballs in debt handling sports cards worth thousands of dollars? The risk is too great. There are too many issues. I will not get into them at this time. Needless to say, it is not worth the liability, and it is for everyone's protection. If you want to be a breaker, you should welcome that, unless, of course, you have something to hide. If they pass the background checks, then they are trained and they must pass a test before they are cleared to conduct breaks. That test can be both written and in person, like an internship. Who trains them, you ask? Good question. Vetted breakers that have established themselves as the very best. Vetted, keyword, and the very best. Now, this is important. If you take anything away from this, if anyone's watching that has anything to do with braking or braking in the future, this is something that's very important, and I guarantee this would cut down on the shenanigans. The use of a third-party escrow service to ensure cards are distributed without tampering and the funds are safe and secure and released only after the break is concluded and deemed official. What does that mean? Pretty self-explanatory, but the break will not be deemed concluded and final until each person that participated in the break receive their cards they have won in the break. The breaker screws around, does not ship, or there is an objection raised during the break, the funds do not move until those issues are rectified. That rule, as I said, would eliminate the vast majority of issues. Surveillance will be standardized throughout the industry. There'll be surveillance cameras at every angle and mounted in the table so cards can be viewed or reviewed before they are even revealed to participants. This is to ensure credibility of the break. Same system that they use in televised poker tournaments. Andy, won't this get rid of all the fun of yelling and screaming on a Darius Garland base rookie? No, it will not, because it will only be utilized if there was an issue and after the fact. You can still have your fun and games and surprise. To ensure transparency and accountability, platforms will create, publish rules and regulations, policies and procedures that will be accessible to the public for review. This is especially important because right now there are no standardized rules. As I said before, have a phone, have a camera, you're good to go. You need rules for conducting breaks. Platforms must establish clear guidelines for their operations. In addition, they will develop a code of ethics that breakers must sign. This will outline expectations of and consequences of their behavior. The code of ethics will include specific questions, such as whether breakers are aware that intentionally moving a card out of the view of surveillance may result in suspension and termination. By providing this information upfront, platforms can educate the breakers and minimize the likelihood of violations. It also puts the breakers on notice that if they are in violation, they are gone. Enhance customer service. Improve customer service. All breakers will have a way for the participants of that break to communicate with someone in the breaking organization during the break. That means if a participant has a concern or issue during the break, they can alert the platform or the person conducting the break, or not the person, but the organization conducting the break. This will provide a timestamp and ensure the concern is addressed properly. For high dollar breaking, national treasures and alike, manufacturers will mark, certify, inventory the boxes to ensure transparency and fairness. This means that certain high-ranking officials in the company not known to the breakers will be responsible for the electronic storage of certifications and inventory of the box. They will only be accessible in case of a controversy and can be unlocked or viewed with a witness present, like a safety deposit box. You need 2 people to open it. These certification and inventories will only be conducted if there is a question and deemed appropriate for the issue. We've all had concerns about some breakers receiving loaded boxes, so manufacturer will oversee the distribution to ensure that this is a random process and no one receives special treatment. Perfect world scenario, sure, but this is what has to be done. How about this? Segregation of duties. The breaker should not receive the box, store the box, break the box, and ship the cards. That is a recipe for disaster. As I stated before, having an escrow account that holds the funds from the break is a step in the right direction, and it will definitely improve policies that make these breaks safe and secure. In the future, when the big boys take over, all breaks will be performed in the exact same manner. In the future, when, like I said, when Fanatics is entrenched in breaking, they should have policies and protocols for people that break their product. Breaks will be monitored to ensure compliance. You break the rules, you don't get the product, meaning you don't break, meaning you could be out of business. As a security consultant, I would inspect facilities and interview employees after a security breach occurred. Most often this occurred because people are reactive instead of proactive, which can lead to problems. My job was to identify the cause of the security breach, then create specific policies and procedures as well as implement security measures to prevent it from happening again. It is important to anticipate questions that may arise after a breach, such as, What safeguards were in place to protect your product, and why did they fail? Think of all these actions as guardrails. Will they prevent everything? No, nothing can. But when put in place, they will drastically reduce the risk. And that's the important thing. These actions will make the operator think before they do something bad. And that's probably most of the battle. I was going to say half the battle. That's most of the battle. And let's be honest. Some people that have been caught doing bad things in breaks have no business in our hobby to begin with. Yet they're here. Will it cost money to implement? Absolutely, but the companies like Fanatics who want to take over sports card market, then it's a small price to pay to ensure that this part of the hobby is on the up and up. Those that resist changes needed to ensure integrity of the hobby as far as breaks, those who just continue to operate as always, fine, have fun, use them at your own risk. Free will, as I always say. Now look, that was a lot. Now I may have missed something. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comment sections. And I understand that many of you may disagree with this approach, and that's perfectly fine. I've noticed that there are plenty of opinions out there, but not many solutions. So why not put my background to the test and tell you what I would do if not only if I was the victim of a bad breaker, but if I was in charge of the breaks on a major platform or working for a manufacturer for that matter. So with that said, Mr. Rubin, my DMs are open. Feel free to contact me for a consult. I'd be happy to speak with you. But really, guys, something's got to be done because this is getting out of hand. So why not put forth some call to action from the industry and the people that do the break? So that's it for today. If you like what you see, hit the like, hit the subscribe. If you don't like what you see, that's impossible. But hit the like, hit the subscribe. And until next time, take care.